Hi guys, welcome back. So guys, this is part 2 of our HTML forms. Now in this video, we are going to see more types of inputs. Okay, in the previous video, we have already seen few basic input types. In this, we will be covering more of them. We are going to see radio buttons, checkboxes, drop downs, text areas, and then we are going to see some important attributes like required, disabled, and read only. So without wasting any time, let's get started. But before that, if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing and make sure to check this playlist HTML4 course on my channel. So guys, let's first start by let me tell you what actually is a checkbox and what actually is a radio button for those who are very new and you don't know what is the usage of all of them. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is radio buttons and checkboxes. So guys, we use radio buttons and it looks something like this. Okay, when we have to choose one out of the 2 or 3 different given options. Okay, like gender is one such thing. When we have to select out of 2 or 3 different options, we have to select one, right? So in that case, we make use of radio box. The other thing is checkbox. Now when we have to select multiple entries at the same time out of the given options, then we make use of this checkbox. Okay, next thing is our drop down. So the actual use case of drop down can be this one, like country. If we have a lot of entries and we have to select as a part of drop down, we have to scroll, right? So we have to like see, country is also kind of a radio only, but if we put all the countries visible to the end user at once, it will be too overwhelming, right? So we keep it quite hidden at the initial level, so if when they click on it, all the countries will display and then they can select one out of it, right? Next is your like this text area. You can say text area is what, like when you have to write a long text, right? So in that case, we make use of text area. Okay, next is we have like important attributes, as I told you, required and then disabled. Okay, and then what is one more, read only. Okay, so we will see all of this in today's video. So let's quickly go to our code editor and let me create a new file called as tutorial14.html. okay, now as a first step, what I will be doing is I will be adding a boilerplate code, and then I will be giving the title as forms part 2. Okay, and I will also give one h1 which says forms part 2, saving it, running it with live server, and then we will see this much on the screen. Okay, as a first step, what I will do is I will create a form tag. Okay, I will use a form tag because whatever we will write in this only, and I also have to show you few values. For that, I will keep the get method, I will keep the method as get as of now. Okay, saving it. Let's start with the first thing, which is radio buttons. For radio buttons, I first of all need a label which will say gender. Okay, and then see, we got this gender text over here, and then what I need is 2 types of radios. Okay, so first radio that I will put is, okay, let me do one thing. Let me keep this side by side so we can see the changes in real time. Okay, see, so we have gender. Now I want 2 radio buttons for this gender, right? So first of all, how to create a radio button? So in order to create a radio button, we use the tag input. Okay, and then instead of text, we name it as radio. Okay, so when you do this, see, you got this radio button. Okay, now there are a few attributes that you need to attach. Before that, let us also give a label. So what this label is for, this label will tell that what exactly is this radio is for. So this radio is for male, okay, gender. So now we have set it. Okay, now I want that when I click on this, see, when I click on this radio, it is getting enabled. I also want that when I click on this male text, also this should be enabled. Okay, so basically I want to create a relation between these two. Okay, so how can I do that? We have already done this in the previous input text, right? What I need to do is I need to put some value in the for. So I will write male, and then in my input also I need to give an ID. Okay, so here also I will write male, saving it, and I can remove this for, because I don't want any relation for this, like gender is a normal text that I want to keep. And then when I click on this male, you can see the input is getting radio input is getting enabled. Okay, in the same way I can create 2 more genders, right? So, and yeah, one more way of writing, if you want to create an input of type radio, you can write input colon and then radio in this way also. Okay, see, how am I doing it? And when you hit enter, VS Code automatically will give you the syntax. Okay, and then one more label I will be requiring, and then it will say female, and then let me create one more which will say others. Okay, now guys, so far we have done this much. When I click on female or other or male, everything is getting enabled. But I already told you, right, we use radio buttons when we have to select one out of the given options, right? And this is not This does not make sense, right? How can you select multiple at the same time? So in order for that, what you need to do, you need to use your name attribute, okay? And your name attribute should have the same value, okay? So let's see that. So now what we can put, right? Gender we can write. So the name that we can put in this one is gender, and even here I need to give one name, okay, to this radio also. Now when I click other, it is enabled. When I click female, see, the other is disabled and female is enabled. When I click male, so at a given point of time, only one is getting enabled, which is good, that is what we are expecting, right? Now let me also create a button, okay, to show you something important. So the button is of type submit, and saving this button. See guys, now the important thing, let me give some line breaks also. There is one more attribute called as value, okay? So I will also give value attribute to all these three, okay? First of all, let me give the value, and it will be like male, and value over here, not in the label but in the input. Now why am I giving this value basically? Okay, so just notice that when I enable male, and then when I click on submit, okay, I'll show you the full URL. You can see gender is equals to male is the data that is going, okay, to the backend or somewhere. So this is important, okay? When you have to send any data, basically you have to use this value attributes, okay? Let's move on to the next one, which one was checkboxes. Let's create checkboxes now, okay? So in order to create checkboxes, I will take the skill set example. So I will give the label first of all as a skill set, okay, saving it, okay, and then again adding line breaks so that the button goes down. Okay, so now in the label, what I want is, I want two checkboxes, okay, for now. One is for HTML, another one is for CSS. So again, I can write something like this, input colon checkbox, okay. So you can see one checkbox is created, and then let me first save it. So you can see the checkbox, and now I also need to give a label for this checkbox, right? Because it should be meaningful, right? What we have created this checkbox. So I will give the label as HTML, and again we will do the same thing. Like we will give the for and ID values, okay, HTML, saving it, okay, and here now I will create one more, okay. So we got two checkboxes and both will run at the same time, okay. Now important thing, name. What should name be having? Name can say skill, and here also name can be skill. We can also have a value, because when we will click and send the data, what value will be passed? So for that, here also I add a value. Let's test this now. So I'll go to full screen. Just notice the URL as of now initially, okay. See, URL has this. Now when I click on CSS and when I click on submit, the skill is showing as CSS. When I do HTML and submit, skill is showing as HTML. When I do both and submit, both the data is getting displayed in the URL, okay. So now I hope you are getting clearly the idea of values, okay, what is the value used for. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is our drop down, okay. So let's create a drop down now. So in order to create a drop down, first of all, what we will do is we will take that example of countries, right? So the example of countries I'm going to take. Let me add line breaks first of all. Okay, let me give a label which says countries. Save, okay. Now this I need a drop down over here. So in order to create a drop down, we have a tag called as select, okay. So when you use this tag select, it will, inside this you need to give different options that you want to keep in your drop down, okay. So I want 3 options as of now. So I will create 3 options. I will use 3 option tags, and let me create one more. And then in the 3 values that I want to keep in the actions, in the options are HTML, CSS. Oh, sorry, it is country field, right? So I need to give country names. India, maybe like Sweden, and one more I can give USA, okay. Saving it. See, we already got the proper this drop down which says country, and you have the options of selecting different countries. Now you can fill the different, like, you know, these IDs and fors. So ID will be country, and the same goes in the for, so that when we click on this, saving it, when we click on this country, the drop down is getting enabled. Name you can give, name same you can give, country, okay. So when you submit, it will come as country equals to whatever the country you have selected, and in value you can select complete name also, or you can select something like short forms of the countries. Let's use this and see if it is working or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Sweden and then I'm going to click on submit. So notice that country is equals to SE, it is coming, right? That is why we have given the values in that way. Okay, so we have also seen drop downs. Now let us now move forward and see text area, which is next one. So for text area, I told you one of the good use cases is to have your feedback section, right? So I'm going to write your feedback. So for text area, we don't use an input. Okay, we have a separate tag called as text area itself. Okay, so when I use this, so this is how my text area is going to look like. Again, I want my text area to be on the next line, so I'll add a line break like this. And then there are a few important things, like first of all, this usual thing that we have, which is like this for and ID we will give, so that when I click on this text, this get enabled. Okay, now in the name, again the same thing, like when the data is getting sent, it will say that feedbacks is equals to whatever the thing that we are typing in the feedback section, saving it. Now see, we have this open and closing tag of text area. What if I type something between this? Okay, so that will be displayed as a kind of placeholder in this text area. Okay, so let me type that in. Okay, like enter your feedback here. Okay, when I type this, you can see this is getting displayed. Okay, and then if you want to increase the rows and columns, you can do that also. Like for example, we have the this one as sorry, not columns, but I want row. Saving it. See, it is getting increased, right? In this way, if you want to increase the columns also, you can do that. Okay, so now we have seen what the text area is. Now let's move forward and let's see these three important attributes that we have seen initially: required, disabled, and read only. Now in order to explain you this, what I will do is I will create three inputs. Okay, and let me add line breaks first of all, so everything comes on the next line. And I am creating three inputs using simple input into 3, and this will give me 3 inputs. Okay, just notice that by default the inputs that is created in VS Code, most of the text editors, is of text. Okay, and we want text only. Okay, so just notice we got these 3 inputs, and what I want is I will add those attribute names. So this one is required, this one is disabled, and what is the third one? Read only. Okay, so let me make it as read only. Now in order to make you understand, let me give some placeholder values, otherwise it won't be clear what is what. So I will write this is mandatory or required, whatever you can say, and I will just copy this placeholder and just add the placeholder everywhere. Okay, see guys, we got these things. Now just notice one thing, that mandatory means you have to have some value in it. Okay, like when I click on submit, see, it won't let me submit my form because it says that this is a mandatory field and you have to somehow submit it. And these types of things are actually used in the actual forms, right? Because you might have seen that in some of the forms your first name is mandatory or your contact number is mandatory. So when you have to achieve that sort of thing, you can use this required attribute. What is disable now? When you want to show something, but you don't have to keep that input enabled as of now, so you can make it disabled using disabled attribute. So now you can see when I'm I'm regularly clicking on this, okay, second input, but it is not getting enabled. Why so? Because this is disabled currently. And what is the third one? See, this is getting focused, but when I'm trying to write something, it is not getting written. Okay, so this is what is called as read only, when you have to show some just data which is read only. Okay, and you don't want the end user to modify it. So these 3 types of attributes are there, which is required, disabled, and read only. So guys, we have covered everything now related to forms. We have covered radio buttons, checkboxes, drop downs, text area, and these 3 attributes, and we have seen few more things in the previous video. Now what next? With this we have completed forms in HTML. Now I will be giving you an exercise in which we will be covering everything that we have learned so far in forms, and it will be good for us for practicing. So guys, that's all for this video. If you are finding it helpful, do share your feedback in the comment section and make sure to subscribe to the channel.